Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the U.S. Discovery, watching the stars through the main screen. The ship had been traveling through deep space for 3 months, looking for new planets that humans might live on someday. Jake was a good captain. His crew trusted him, and he had never lost a ship in 15 years of service. The Discovery was not a warship. It was built for science and exploration. But like all human ships traveling far from Earth, it carried weapons. Every human ship did, just in case they met something unfriendly out in the dark. Maria Santos was the ship's weapons officer. She kept the guns clean and ready. Pete Collins ran the engines and made sure everything worked. Lisa Chong handled all communications with Earth and other ships. Together, they made a good team. On this day, everything changed. Lisa looked up from her station, her face pale. "Captain, I'm getting something strange on the long-range sensors." Jake walked over to her console. "What kind of strange?" "It's big, sir. Really big. And it just appeared out of nowhere." The main screen shifted to show what the sensors had found. A massive ship hung in space ahead of them. It was 10 times larger than the Discovery. Its surface was covered in strange crystals that glowed with blue light. The ship looked like nothing humans had ever built. "My God," Pete whispered from the engineering station. "That thing is huge." Jake felt his heart start beating faster. This was it. First contact with an alien race. Everything they did in the next few minutes might decide the future of humanity. "Lisa, try to contact them. Use the standard first contact protocols." Lisa's hands moved over her controls. "Broadcasting on all frequencies, sir. Mathematical sequences, basic pictures, music." They waited. The alien ship just floated there, silent. Then it moved. The massive vessel glided toward them without any visible engines. It moved smooth and quiet, like a shark in dark water. When it was close enough to swallow the Discovery whole, it stopped. "Incoming transmission," Lisa announced. "They're using our own signal patterns, but modified. It's like they learned our language in seconds." "Put it through." A voice filled the bridge. It sounded strange, like someone speaking through broken glass, but the words were clear. "Small ship of the soft ones. You will allow us to board your vessel. We wish to examine your species." Jake looked at his crew. They all stared back at him, waiting for orders. This was the moment that would change everything. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Earth Ship Discovery. We welcome peaceful contact. You may come aboard." Within minutes, a small craft detached from the alien ship. It landed in the Discovery's main cargo bay. Jake met the aliens there with Maria and Pete. They had weapons, but kept them holstered. First impressions mattered. The airlock opened with a hiss. 3 aliens stepped out. They were tall, much taller than humans. Their skin looked like living crystal, blue and shining. Each alien had 4 arms and stood on 2 legs like humans. Their faces had no nose, just slits where humans had nostrils. Their eyes were large and completely black. The leader stepped forward. When it spoke, its voice came from a device on its chest. "I am War Commander Taishrak of the Zephyrian Empire. These are my warriors, Krexmal and Vexther. We have come to learn about your kind." Jake stepped forward and held out his hand. The alien looked at it for a moment, then touched it with one of its 4 hands. The crystal skin felt warm and smooth. "Welcome aboard, War Commander. I'm Captain Morrison. Would you like a tour of our ship?" Taishrak made a sound that might have been laughter. "Yes, we are curious about your primitive technology." The word primitive hit Jake like a slap, but he kept his face calm and started the tour. They showed the aliens everything. The bridge, the engines, the living quarters, the labs. The aliens looked at everything with what seemed like amusement. They touched nothing and asked few questions. Then they reached the armory. Maria opened the heavy doors with pride. Inside were rows of human weapons. Rifles that fired bullets, missile launchers, plasma cannons, and laser weapons. Everything was clean and well maintained. The aliens stopped and stared. Then Taishrak began to laugh. It was not a pleasant sound. "These are your weapons?" he asked, pointing at a rifle. "These metal tubes that throw small pieces of metal?" Krexmal picked up a pistol and examined it. How quaint. They use controlled explosions to propel solid matter, like ancient siege engines. "This is what you use for war?" Vexter asked, holding a grenade. "Chemical reactions in metal containers?" Maria's face turned red. "Those weapons have served humanity well for centuries." "Oh, I'm sure they have," Taishrak said. His voice dripped with mockery. "Against other primitives using similar toys." The war commander raised one of his hands. Light began to glow between his fingers. The light formed into a crystal shape that hummed with power. "This is a weapon," he said. "It channels the fundamental forces of reality. Watch." He pointed the crystal at a metal plate on the wall. The beam of pure energy shot out. The metal didn't just melt. It simply ceased to exist, leaving a perfect round hole. "We have weapons that manipulate gravity itself," Krexmal added. "We can crush your ships like paper from across a star system. We control plasma hotter than your sun," Vexter said. "We shape matter at the molecular level." Jake watched his weapons officer's face. Maria looked like someone had just told her water wasn't wet. "Your bullets and missiles," Taishrak continued, "are relics from a stone age that we never experienced. We have conquered 17 star systems with weapons that harness the power of creation itself." The alien commander walked slowly through the armory, looking at each weapon with the same expression someone might use to examine old museum pieces. "Tell me, Captain Morrison," he said, "do you still use stone knives and wooden clubs as well?" Jake felt anger rising in his chest, but he kept his voice level. "Our weapons serve their purpose. Against other primitives, perhaps. But you are about to meet a civilization that has moved beyond such crude tools." Taishrak walked back to face Jake directly. "Your species has 7 of your solar rotations to surrender this sector of space. Consider it a gift. We could simply take it. And if we refuse?" The alien's black eyes seemed to shine with dark humor. "Then we will provide you with an education in proper warfare. Your chemical toys against the fundamental forces of the universe." It will be brief. The aliens left as suddenly as they had come. Their ship vanished into whatever dimension they used for travel, leaving the Discovery alone with the stars. Jake stood in the armory, looking at weapons that had seemed so powerful just an hour ago. Now they looked like toys next to what he had just seen. "Captain," Maria said quietly, "what do we do now?" Jake looked at his weapons officer, then at the rifles and missiles that suddenly seemed very small and primitive. "Now," he said, "we go home and get ready for war." Admiral Frank Carter sat at the head of the long table in the Pentagon's deepest bunker. Around him sat the most important military leaders on Earth. The video from the Discovery played on the wall screen for the 5th time in 2 hours. Everyone watched the aliens laugh at human weapons. Everyone saw the energy beam that made metal disappear. Everyone heard the threat about 7 days to surrender. "How long until they come back?" asked General Linda Hayes, head of the Air Force. 6 days, 18 hours, Carter replied. "Captain." Morrison's ship made it back in record time. Dr. Rachel Kim, the head scientist for Earth's weapons programs, paused the video where the alien held the glowing crystal. "I've been studying this footage frame by frame. There's something important." "Here." "What?" Carter asked. "Look at the timing. Watch how long it takes between shots." She played the video in slow motion. The alien's weapon glowed, fired, then went dark. It stayed dark for several seconds before it could glow again. Their weapons need time to charge between shots, Rachel explained. Our guns don't. Danny Brooks, a weapons expert who had spent 20 years designing rifles, leaned forward. How much time? At least 3 seconds. Maybe more for the bigger weapons. Carter felt a spark of hope. So while they're recharging, they can't shoot. Exactly. And look at this. Rachel showed another part of the video. See how precisely. They aim? Their weapons seem designed for single, perfect shots. They're not built for rapid fire. General Hayes frowned. But one of their shots can destroy our ships. It doesn't matter if they fire slowly, if they kill us with every hit. Unless, Danny said slowly, we don't give them time to aim. All eyes turned to him. What do you mean? Carter asked. They're used to fighting enemies with similar weapons. Energy weapons that take time to charge and fire. They probably fight. Like duels. One shot, wait, another shot. Very civilized. And we fight how? Rachel asked. Danny smiled grimly. Like humans. We put as much lead in the air as possible and don't stop until everything stops moving. Carter began to understand. You're saying we overwhelm them with rate of fire? Look at their ship design, Danny continued. All smooth curves and crystal matrices. It's built for energy weapons that can punch through anything. But what if we hit it with 1,000 bullets per second? Their shields will stop bullets. General Hayes objected. Maybe, but shields have limits. Every shield ever built has a maximum it can handle before it fails. Dr. Kim was already working on her tablet. I'm running calculations. If their energy weapons need 3 seconds between shots, and our machine guns fire 600 rounds per minute. She looked up with wide eyes. We could put 30 bullets in the air for every one of their energy blasts. Per gun, Danny added. Now multiply that by every weapon on every ship. Carter stood up and walked to the wall screen. The alien ship filled the display, massive and intimidating. How many ships do we have? 312 vessels of various sizes, reported Admiral Susan Clark, head of the Space Navy. But only 60 are true warships. Arm them all, Carter ordered. Every cargo ship, every transport, every vessel that can mount a weapon. Sir, Admiral Clark said carefully, cargo ships aren't built for combat. They'll be destroyed easily. Not if they can fire 10,000 rounds before they die. Carter turned to face the room. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take every ship in the fleet and pack it with as many rapid-fire weapons as it can carry. Machine guns, autocannons, missile pods, everything. The aliens will pick us off at long range, General Hayes warned. Not if we get close fast. Very close. Close enough that their big weapons can't track us. Dr. Kim was nodding. Like fighter planes in the old wars. Getting close where the big guns can't hit you. Exactly. We turned this into a knife fight instead. Of a duel. The next 6 days passed in a blur of desperate activity. Every weapons factory on Earth ran at maximum speed. Old rifles came out of storage. New machine guns rolled off production lines that had been built for cars the week before. Colonel Steve Baker supervised the work at Luna Base, Earth's main military station on the moon. His teams worked around the clock, mounting weapons on. Ships never designed for war. How many guns can we fit on the transport ship? He asked Lieutenant Amy Foster. We've got 240 machine guns mounted so far. We can fit maybe 60 more if we remove some of the cargo space. Do it. Pack every available space with weapons and ammunition. Across Earth, similar scenes played out. The cruise. Ship Miami Dream was turned into a floating weapons platform. The cargo hauler Big Sky received enough firepower to level a city. Even small research vessels got machine guns welded to their hulls. Captain Morrison worked with Maria Santos to design the weapons loadout for ships that would face the aliens directly. They had learned from watching the alien demonstration. Forget about penetrating their armor, Maria explained to a group of ship captains. We're going for volume of fire. Thousands of rounds per second, hitting their ships from every angle. What? If our bullets just bounce off? Asked Captain Tony Martinez of the fighter squadron. Then we fire more bullets. The point is to overload their defenses. Every shield, every defensive system has a limit. We're going to find those limits. Dr. Kim worked with teams of scientists to study every second of the alien footage. They identified weak points in the crystal structure of alien weapons. They calculated the energy requirements for the aliens' shields. Their technology is definitely more advanced, she reported to Admiral Carter, but it's also more complex. Complex systems have more ways to fail. What does that mean for us? It means our simple, crude weapons might actually work better in sustained combat. Their energy weapons probably can't fire continuously without overheating. Our machine guns can fire until the barrels melt. Commander Diana Ross was put in charge of ammunition supply. Her job was to make sure every human ship carried enough bullets to fight for hours. We're loading 10 times the normal ammunition load, she reported. Some ships are more ammunition than ship at this point. Good, Carter replied. I want every human vessel to be able to fire continuously for at least 30 minutes. The aliens sent messages during the preparation time. War Commander Taishrek appeared on screens across Earth, speaking from his crystal ship. Soft ones of the third planet, his translated voice said, your time grows short. We have watched your pathetic preparations. You mount more primitive weapons on your ships. Do you truly believe that more toys will defeat the power we showed you? The message continued. We offer one final mercy. Surrender now, and we will. Preserve your species as servants. Refuse, and we will demonstrate why 17 civilizations kneel before the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral Carter recorded Earth's reply. He stood in full uniform before the camera, his face calm and determined. War Commander Taishrek of the Zephyrian Empire. This is Admiral Frank Carter of the United Earth Defense Force. Your offer is rejected. If you want our worlds, come and take them. The message was broadcast on all frequencies, aimed at the alien fleet that sensors had detected gathering at the edge of the solar system. On the last day, Captain Morrison stood on the bridge of the Discovery, now armed with enough weapons to outfit a small army. His ship would lead the human fleet into battle. Are you ready for this, Maria? He asked his weapons officer. Maria Santos looked at her control panel, now connected to 300 separate weapon systems. I've been ready since they laughed at our guns, Captain. And Pete? Are the engines ready for combat maneuvers? Pete Collins nodded from his station. We can accelerate faster and turn sharper than any ship we've ever built. The aliens won't expect that. Lisa Chong monitored communications from the entire human fleet. All ships report ready, Captain. 312 vessels, armed, and waiting for orders. Jake looked at the tactical display showing the human fleet. Each ship was a small dot of light, dwarfed by the massive alien vessels approaching from the outer system. It looked hopeless, but each of those small dots carried enough firepower to level mountains. Each was crewed by humans who had spent 6 days preparing for war. Lisa, send a message to all ships, Jake ordered. Yes, sir. Tell them this. The aliens think we're primitive. They think our weapons are toys. In a few hours, we're going to show them what humans do with toys. We're going to show them what happens when someone threatens our home. The message went out to every ship in the fleet. On 300 bridges, human captains received the same words. War Commander Taishrek was right about one thing. The battle would be brief. He was wrong about who would win. The Zephyrian fleet came out of hyperspace like gods of war. 50 massive ships, each one larger than anything humans had ever built. Their crystal hulls caught the light of Earth's sun and threw it back in rainbow patterns. Beautiful and terrible. At the same time, War Commander Taishrak stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Val Tarun. Through the crystal viewing ports, he could see the small human fleet moving to meet them. He counted their ships and laughed. 300 of their tiny vessels, he said to his lieutenant, Krexmal. Do they think numbers will save them? Perhaps. They do not understand the difference in our capabilities, Krexmal replied. Their largest ship is smaller than our smallest escort. Taishrak activated the communication system. His voice would reach every ship in both fleets. Humans of the third planet, this is your final opportunity to surrender. Bow before the Zephyrian Empire, and your deaths will be swift. The reply came from Admiral Carter, broadcasting from Earth. Zephyrian Fleet, this is Admiral Frank Carter. We have a message for you, too. Welcome to Sol System. Try not to die too quickly. Taishrak's eyes darkened. Insolent primitives. Begin the attack. Long-range fire. Show them the power of civilized warfare. The Zephyrian ships spread into a battle line. Each massive vessel began to glow as their main weapons charged. Crystal matrices along their hulls built up energy that would soon reach out across space to vaporize the human fleet. Captain Morrison watched from the bridge of the Discovery as the alien ships prepared to fire. The distance between the fleets was enormous. Thousands of kilometers of empty space. Their weapons are charging, Maria reported from her station. Energy readings are off the charts. All ships, execute Plan Alpha, Jake commanded. Maximum acceleration, direct approach. Across the human fleet, 300 captains received the same order. Every ship turned toward the alien fleet and pushed their engines to the limit. The first Zephyrian volley lit up space like a new star being born. Beams of pure energy reached across the void, each one carrying enough power to destroy a city. 12 human ships died in that first salvo. A transport vessel, Big Sky, simply ceased to exist, vaporized by a direct hit. The research ship, Carl Sagan, broke apart when a plasma beam cut through its middle. 10 other vessels met similar fates, their crews dying before they even knew they were under attack. 12 ships destroyed, Lisa reported, her voice steady despite the horror they had just witnessed. Keep going, Jake ordered. All ships maintain course and speed. War Commander Taishrak watched the human response with satisfaction. As expected, their primitive armor provides no protection against our weapons. But something was wrong. The human fleet wasn't slowing down or trying to retreat. They were accelerating directly toward the Zephyrian ships, getting closer with each passing second. What are they doing? Krexmal asked. This is suicide. Perhaps their primitive minds cannot process the reality of defeat, Taishrak mused. Prepare for second volley. The Zephyrian weapons began charging again, but it took time. Energy had to build in the crystal matrices. Plasma cannons needed to reach proper temperature. Gravity manipulators required precise calibration. The human fleet used that time to close the distance. Captain Morrison watched the tactical display as his ships raced toward the enemy. They were taking losses, but they were also getting closer. The alien weapons were powerful, but they were slow. Range to enemy fleet? He asked. 60,000 kilometers and closing fast, Pete reported from the engine station. Their weapons are almost ready to fire again, Maria warned. All ships, evasive maneuvers. Jake commanded. The human fleet scattered like a school of fish, avoiding. A shark. Ships dove and climbed and twisted through space in patterns no alien captain could predict. The humans had learned something in their centuries of war. If you can't avoid being shot at least make yourself hard to hit. The second. Zephyrian volley fired into empty space where the human fleet had been moments before. Only 3 human ships died this time, caught by weapons that could track their evasive movements. Impossible. Taishrak snarled. How are they moving so quickly? Their ships are much smaller than ours, Krexmal observed. They can change direction faster. Then we will simply fire more often. Begin continuous bombardment. But that was exactly what the humans were counting on. The Zephyrian weapons weren't designed for rapid fire. Each shot required time and energy. The more often they fired, the less effective each shot became. Meanwhile, the human fleet kept getting closer. 40,000 kilometers, Pete reported. 30,000, 20,000. At 15,000 kilometers, something new happened. The human ships entered the range of their own weapons. The UES Defiance, Admiral Carter's flagship, fired first. Not one weapon, not 10 weapons, but every weapon. Mounted on the ship. 2,000 machine guns, autocannons, and missile launchers opened fire at the same time. The space between the fleets filled with metal. War Commander. Taishrak had never seen anything like it. Instead of precise, powerful shots, the humans filled the void with thousands upon thousands of projectiles. Bullets, missiles, rockets, shells, everything moving at incredible speed toward his fleet. Shields up, he commanded. Defensive fire. The Zephyrian ships raised their energy shields, barriers that could stop plasma bolts and deflect energy beams. But they had never been designed to handle the sheer volume of projectiles now, heading their way. The first impacts came from human missiles. They struck the alien shields and exploded, creating brief flashes of light. The shields held, but each impact drained their energy dot. Then came the bullets. Thousands of them, fired from hundreds of guns on dozens of ships. They hit the shields in a constant stream, each impact small, but adding up to something much larger. Shield. Strength dropping, Krexmal reported. The primitive projectiles are overloading our defensive systems. How is that possible? Taishrak demanded. Before anyone could answer, the first shield failed. The cargo ship turned warship Miami Dream had concentrated all its fire on a single Zephyrian escort vessel. 200 machine guns firing 600 rounds per minute created a stream of metal that no shield could withstand forever. When the shield collapsed, the bullets reached the crystal hull beneath. The alien ship's armor was designed to deflect energy weapons, not stop high-velocity projectiles fired at point-blank range. The escort ship began to come apart as thousands of bullets found their way through crystal matrices and into vital systems. The Kethver is taking damage, a Zephyrian officer reported. Hull breaches on multiple decks. War Commander Taishrak watched in disbelief as one of his ships, protected by technology that had conquered star systems, was being destroyed by primitive bullets. All ships, focus fire on the human vessels. Destroy them before they get closer. But the humans were already too close. They swarmed around the Zephyrian fleet like angry insects, too small and fast for the big weapons to track effectively. Captain Tony Martinez led his fighter squadron in a suicidal run against Taishrak's flagship. His small ships carried fewer weapons, but they were fast and hard to hit. All fighters, target their weapon systems, he commanded. If we can't destroy them, at least make them stop shooting. His pilots, including veterans like Sarah Johnson and rookie Rick Turner, dove toward the massive alien ship. Their machine guns and rockets seemed tiny against the crystal giant, but they aimed for the glowing weapon ports, where alien energy was building. Sarah Johnson's fighter was the first to reach the alien ship. She opened fire with everything she had, sending hundreds of bullets into a crystal matrix that was charging for another shot. The matrix exploded. Direct hit. She reported, "One of their weapons is down." More fighters followed her lead. They couldn't destroy the massive alien ship, but they could damage its weapons. Each gun they silenced was one less threat to the human fleet. War Commander Taishrak felt his confidence cracking like his ship's crystal hull under the constant barrage of human fire. This wasn't how civilized warfare was supposed to work. Where were the elegant duels between energy weapons? Where was the honor in overwhelming an enemy with crude projectiles? "Sir," Krexmel reported, his voice strained, "we're losing weapons systems across the fleet. The humans are targeting our gun ports. Then use the gravity manipulators. Crush their ships." "We're trying, sir, but the gravity weapons need time to lock on to targets. The human ships move too fast and too randomly." Taishrak looked at the tactical display showing the battle. It looked like chaos. Hundreds of small human ships swarmed around his massive vessels, pouring fire into them from every angle. His elegant battle line was falling apart as captains tried to track targets. That refused to stay still. This wasn't warfare, as the Zephyrians understood it. This was something else entirely. This was human warfare. "All ships, prepare for close combat," Taishrak commanded. "If they want to fight at knife range, we will accommodate them." But as the war commander would soon learn, fighting humans at close range was the last thing any sane species would want to do. What happened next changed the way the galaxy thought about warfare forever. The human fleet had closed to point-blank range with the alien ships. At this distance, there was no room for elegant tactics or careful aiming. This was pure, brutal combat where the winner would be whoever could put the most destruction into the smallest amount of time. The humans had been preparing for this kind of fight their whole history. Lieutenant Commander Diana Ross stood at her weapons station aboard the UE. Vengeance, watching hundreds of targeting displays light up as human ships surrounded the alien fleet. Her job was simple: coordinate the most devastating barrage in human history. All batteries, continuous fire. She commanded over the fleet communication system. Don't let them charge their weapons. The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every human ship opened fire with every weapon they carried. The space around the Zephyrian fleet became a storm of metal and explosives, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The math was simple, but terrifying. Each human ship carried hundreds of rapid-fire weapons. 300 ships meant tens of thousands of guns, firing at the same time. Each gun fired hundreds of rounds per minute. War Commander Taishrak realized with growing dread that his fleet was losing. Ships that had conquered 17 star systems were being torn apart by what he had called primitive toys. Just days. "Before, all ships retreat to long range," he commanded. "We need distance to use our weapons effectively." But retreat was easier to order than to execute. The human ships clung to his fleet like parasites, matching every evasive maneuver and maintaining their devastating close-range fire. When alien ships tried to pull back, human vessels followed them, never letting the distance open up enough for the big energy weapons to be truly effective. The converted cruise ship Miami Dream had latched onto an alien destroyer and refused to let go. Captain Bob Miller kept his ship at point-blank range, his 200 machine guns chewing through alien armor like a mechanical saw. "They're trying to shake us," his weapons officer reported. "Let them try," Miller replied. "We're staying right here until one of us stops moving." The alien destroyer twisted and turned, trying to bring its main weapons to bear on the stubborn human ship. But the Miami Dream was too close, moving in the destroyer's blind spots where the big guns couldn't track. Meanwhile, the smaller human weapons never stopped firing. Dr. Rachel Kim, monitoring the battle from Earth's command center, watched the tactical displays with amazement. Her theories about alien weapon limitations were proving correct, but even she was surprised by how effective the human strategy had become. "Look at the energy readings from their ships," she told her team. "Their weapon systems are overheating. They're firing too fast, trying to match our rate of fire." "What does that mean?" asked Danny Brooks. "It means their weapons weren't designed for sustained combat. They're built for short, decisive engagements. The longer this fight goes on, the more advantages we gain." On the battlefield, that advantage was becoming clear. Alien weapons that had seemed unstoppable at the beginning of the fight were now misfiring or shutting down entirely as their complex systems overloaded from continuous use. The Zephyrian cruiser, Mortith, had been firing its main plasma cannon as fast as it could cycle, trying to destroy the human ships swarming around it. But plasma weapons generated enormous heat, and the alien cooling systems couldn't handle the sustained fire rate. "Main weapon overheating," the cruiser's weapons officer reported. "Plasma conduits are reaching critical temperature." "Keep firing," the ship's captain commanded. "We must destroy these primitives." The plasma cannon fired one more time, then exploded as superheated gases found a crack in an overloaded conduit. The explosion tore through 3 decks of the alien ship, leaving it defenseless against human attack. Captain Morrison watched similar failures happening across the alien fleet. Ships that had seemed invincible were now sitting dead in space, their weapons silent and their shields down. "Maria, what's our ammunition status?" he asked. 30% remaining," she replied. "But sir, look at this." She showed him the tactical display. Of the 50 alien ships that had entered the battle, 15 were completely destroyed. 20 more were heavily damaged and no longer effective fighting units. Only 15 alien vessels were still capable of meaningful resistance. Meanwhile, the human fleet had lost 60 ships, but the remaining vessels were still fighting at full capacity. "We're actually winning," Jake said with wonder in his voice. "Yes, sir. Their weapons are too complex for this kind of fight. Our guns just keep working." Lieutenant Commander Diana Ross coordinated the final phase of the battle from her position on the UES Vengeance. The alien fleet was scattered and broken, individual ships trying to escape rather than fight. "All vessels, concentrate fire on the alien flagship," she commanded. "End this war." Every human ship that could still fight turned toward War Commander Taishrak's massive vessel. The Vel Tarun was the largest and most powerful ship in the alien fleet, but it was also the most damaged. Human weapons had been chewing at its defenses for the entire battle. "Incoming transmission from the alien commander," Lisa reported. Jake nodded. "Put it through." War Commander Taishrak appeared on the main screen. His crystalline features were cracked, and his black eyes held something humans had never seen there before: fear. "Captain Morrison," he said, his voice no longer mocking. "Your species ... fights like nothing we have encountered." "You wanted to see our weapons in action," Jake replied. "Are you satisfied?" "We underestimated you. We thought your tools were primitive because they were simple. We did not understand that simple tools in sufficient numbers could overwhelm complexity." "Do you surrender?" Taishrak was quiet for a long moment. Around his ship, the human fleet waited, guns trained on his vessel but holding fire. "We yield," he said finally. "Your victory is ... complete." The words echoed across both fleets. The Zephyrian Empire, conquerors of 17 star systems, had been defeated by humans using weapons they had called toys. But Jake Morrison wasn't done yet. He opened a channel to the entire alien fleet, his voice carrying to every surviving Zephyrian ship. "This is Captain Morrison of the human fleet. Your war commander mocked our weapons and threatened our world. You called us primitive and our tools crude. Your commander's ship is about to become a cloud of expanding gas. Any other aliens who want to test our primitive weapons are welcome. to stay and find out what 1,700 years of human warfare can accomplish. The message was clear. The demonstration was over, but the lesson would be remembered across the galaxy. The age of human expansion was about to begin. Commander Tai Shrak watched his instruments with growing horror as the numbers came in. Humans were firing over 1 million projectiles per minute into his fleet. Shield status, he demanded. Failing across the fleet. Krexmol reported. The constant impacts are overloading every defensive system we have. The problem was fundamental. Zephyrian shields were designed to stop powerful energy attacks that came one at a time. They could absorb enormous amounts of energy from a single source, but they had never been tested against thousands of small impacts happening every second. It was like trying to stop rain with an umbrella. Designed for hailstones. Captain Morrison brought the Discovery in close to Tai Shrak's flagship, close enough to see the crystal structure of the alien hull. His ship shuddered under return fire from alien weapons, but kept moving. "How are we doing, Maria?" He asked his weapons officer. Maria Santos looked at her displays with grim satisfaction. 300 separate weapon systems were under her control, and every single one was firing as fast as it could cycle. Ammunition at 60% and falling fast. But look at this. She pointed to her targeting screen. The alien ship's shields were flickering, sections going dark, and then trying to recharge, only to be overwhelmed again by the constant impact of human weapons. "Their shields can't handle sustained fire," she reported. "They keep trying to reset, but we're not giving them time." "Good. Keep it up." Lieutenant Paul Chun worked frantically in the engineering section, keeping the weapons powered as explosions rocked the ship around him. Alien return fire was hitting them, but the Discovery's smaller size and rapid movement made it hard to target. "Ammunition reserves at 40%. He reported over the internal communication system. "Barrel temperature critical on gun decks 7 through 12. "Let them run hot," Jake commanded. "We can replace barrels. We can't replace Earth." Across the human fleet, similar scenes played out. Captain Tony Martinez led his fighters in devastating close-range attacks on alien weapon systems. His small ships could get closer than the larger vessels, close enough to put bullets directly into the crystal matrices that powered alien guns. "Target their big weapons," he commanded his pilots. "Every gun we knock out is one less that can hurt our big ships." Sarah Johnson rolled her fighter between 2 alien weapon ports, firing continuously. Her bullets shattered crystal formations that had taken alien engineers years to grow. Each destroyed matrix was a weapon that would never fire again. "Another one down," she reported as an alien plasma cannon went dark. "These crystals break real easy when you hit them right." But the aliens were fighting back. Their remaining weapons reached out with deadly precision, destroying human ships that got too close or moved too slowly. The converted passive silence that followed War Commander Tai Shrak's surrender lasted only seconds. Then every human ship in the fleet opened fire at once. Admiral Carter had been very clear in his orders. There would be no prisoners, no mercy. The aliens had come to destroy humanity, and they needed to understand what happened to species that threatened Earth. The final barrage was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. 300 human ships concentrated their fire on Tai Shrak's flagship, the Vel Tarun. Every weapon that could reach the target fired at maximum rate. The alien commander barely had time to understand what was happening before his ship vanished in a cascade of explosions. The massive vessel that had seemed so powerful just hours before simply ceased to exist, turned into expanding clouds of gas and debris. "Target destroyed," Maria Santos reported from her weapons station, her voice calm and professional. "All alien resistance has ended." Captain Morrison looked at the tactical display. Where the mighty Zephyrian fleet had been, only wreckage remained. 50 ships that had conquered star systems were now drifting scrap metal. The few alien vessels that had tried to flee were already being hunted down by human fighters. "This is Captain Morrison to all ships," Jake announced over the fleet communication system. "The alien threat has been eliminated. Secure the battlefield and begin search and rescue operations for our own people." The human fleet spread out through the debris field, looking for survivors from their own damaged ships and making sure no alien vessels were still capable of fighting. The efficiency was remarkable. Within an hour, the entire battle zone was under human control. Dr. Rachel Kim watched the aftermath from Earth's command center, her scientific mind already analyzing. What had just happened? The battle had lasted less than 3 hours, but it had changed everything. "The implications are staggering," she told Admiral Carter over the communication link. "We just proved that advanced technology isn't always superior technology." "How?" "So?" Carter asked. "The aliens built their weapons for fighting other advanced civilizations. Energy weapons, gravity manipulators, plasma cannons, all very impressive against similar technology. But they never prepared for an enemy that would simply overwhelm them with crude firepower." Carter nodded slowly. "Like bringing a sword to a gunfight, exactly. Except in this case, we brought 10,000 guns to their sword fight. The human victory had been total. Of the 50 alien ships that had entered Earth's solar system, not one survived. The Zephyrian Empire's most powerful fleet had been completely destroyed by weapons its commander had called toys. But the real impact was just beginning. Colonel Steve Baker oversaw the recovery operations from Luna Base. His teams were already studying the alien wreckage, trying to understand their technology. What they found was eye-opening. "The alien weapons are incredibly sophisticated," he reported to Earth Command. "Each one is a masterpiece of engineering, but they're also incredibly complex. Thousands of components that all have to work perfectly together." "And our weapons?" Admiral Carter asked. "Crude, simple, and nearly impossible to break. You can drop one of our rifles in mud, freeze it, set it on fire, and it will still shoot when you pull the trigger." The lesson was clear. In warfare, reliability often mattered more than sophistication. Captain Tony Martinez led the recovery teams searching through the debris of the alien flagship. What they found sent shockwaves through the human fleet. "Admiral," he reported, "you need to see this." The recovery team had found the alien data cores, crystal matrices that contained the Zephyrian Empire's military records. When human computers finally cracked the alien encryption, the truth emerged. The Zephyrians had indeed conquered 17 star systems. But they had done it by fighting civilizations with technology similar to their own. Elegant energy weapons, sophisticated defenses, complex battle tactics. They had never encountered a species that fought the way humans did. "Look at these battle records," Dr. Kim said, studying the alien data. Every war they fought was essentially a series of duels. Ship against ship, weapon against weapon. Very formal, very predictable. And we fought like ... Carter began. Like humans. We swarmed them, overwhelmed them, and never stopped shooting until everything was dead. The alien records also revealed something else. The Zephyrian Empire controlled 17 star systems, but their military doctrine was spreading to other species. Across the galaxy, civilizations were adopting similar weapons and tactics. That was about to change. Commander Janet Lee was put in charge of writing the official after-action report. Her summary was brief but comprehensive. Enemy fleet, 50. Vessels of superior individual capability. Human fleet, 312 vessels of inferior individual capability. Enemy losses. Total fleet destruction. Human losses. 67 vessels destroyed, 93 damaged. Conclusion. Superior technology means nothing against superior numbers and tactics. But the most important part of her report was the recommendation section. The galaxy is about to learn that humanity has joined the community of spacefaring species. They will also learn that humans do not fight like anyone else. Recommend immediate expansion of weapons production and ship construction. We have just announced our presence to the universe. Others will come to test us. She was right. Within weeks of the battle, human listening posts detected alien communications from across the galaxy. The destruction of the Zephyrian fleet had sent shockwaves through dozens of civilizations. Some of the messages were fearful. Species that had considered themselves powerful suddenly realized they might not be able to match human firepower. Other messages were angry. Several alien empires began mobilizing their fleets, determined to crush humanity before it could spread. A few messages were respectful. Some civilizations wanted to open diplomatic relations with the species that had achieved something everyone thought impossible. The complete destruction of a Zephyrian fleet. Admiral Carter read the intelligence reports with grim satisfaction. They're all talking about us now. Is that good or bad? Dr. Kim asked. It's reality. We can't hide anymore. The galaxy knows humanity exists, and they know we're dangerous. The weeks following the battle saw frantic activity across human space. Every weapons factory on Earth expanded production. New shipyards were built on Mars and Europa. The asteroid belt became a massive mining operation, extracting materials for the ships and weapons humanity would need. Captain Morrison was promoted to admiral and put in charge of Earth's expanding fleet. His first order was simple: build more ships, mount more guns, and be ready for anything. The Discovery, repaired and upgraded, became the flagship of humanity's first interstellar exploration fleet. Their mission was to find new worlds for human settlement and to carry a message to any aliens they encountered. The message was recorded by Admiral Carter himself. To any alien species receiving this transmission, this is Admiral Frank Carter of the United Earth Defense Force. We are humanity, a species from the third planet of the Sol system. We seek peaceful contact with all civilizations. However, we will defend ourselves and our worlds against any threat. Ask the Zephyrian Empire how that worked out for them. The recording was broadcast on all frequencies as human ships spread out from Earth, carrying their message and their weapons to the stars. 6 months after the battle, Dr. Rachel Kim published her analysis of human versus alien military doctrine. Her paper, titled The Advantages of Primitive Warfare, became required reading at military academies across human space. Her conclusion was simple. Complex systems fail in complex ways. Simple systems just keep working. The Zephyrian Empire still existed, but they no longer spoke of conquering new worlds. Their surviving fleets stayed close to home, unwilling to risk another encounter with human weapons. Other alien empires began redesigning their militaries, trying to find ways to counter human tactics. Some adopted rapid-fire weapons of their own. Others developed new defensive systems designed to handle massive numbers of projectiles. But they were all reacting to humanity now, instead of the other way around. War Commander Taishrak's last words, recovered from the data cores of his destroyed flagship, became famous across the galaxy. Beware the humans. They do not fight with honor or elegance. They fight to win, and they bring more weapons than should be possible. They turned our mighty fleet to ash with their primitive tools. Do not make our mistake. Do not underestimate the species that perfected murder before they reached the stars. The age of human expansion had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same. Colonel Steve Baker, now promoted to general, included one final note in his official report. Recommendation: continue current weapons production. The aliens were right about one thing. Our weapons are primitive compared to theirs. But primitive weapons in the hands of humans have just conquered the most advanced fleet in known space. If they want to call us primitives, that's fine. Primitives who win. The message was clear. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. They had taken the most advanced military force in known space and turned it to ash using weapons their enemies had mocked. The aliens had laughed at human.